Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the 4 Kicks and Gigabytes podcast. I am your host, Hawkeye38. And I don't know. Once again, I have no idea what week of quarantine it is. It's been forever, and there's other stuff going on in the world. So I hope that talking about our topic today will give you a little bit of levity, if that's the right word, from everything going on. So today I have with me my oldest friend and oldest in terms of longevity, not in age, because
No.
yeah, it's my friend Chelsea. Um,
Hi.
and we're gonna be talking about for lack of a better, actually I shouldn't say lack of a better term because it's coined its own term, or some the Soulsborne games. Um, and so the reason also being for this, like I said in the last video, the focus of the series is to be stuff that I have not really touched or played, um, for one reason or another. And for the Soulsborne series, it's actually it's an odd one because it's not the reason I think other people would think of why I haven't played them. Um, it's not that they're difficult; it has nothing to do with that. I am just a giant baby when it comes to stuff that's really dark. I just like the aesthetic of it is just not something that appeals. So I try to find games that are like it. Like I know technically Monster Hunter came first, and it's even that's a shallow comparison. But like, I will play Monster Hunter over I play like Dark Souls. I do plan on thinking playing Sekiro just because it has a brighter tone to it, even if it still, you know, has its dark moments. But so anyway, that's kind of my lack of experience with the series. It's just mainly an aesthetic thing, not a gameplay thing. But anyway, so Chelsea, my good friend.
Yes.
Um, what was the first one, or like what got you into the series? Like, was it aside from like whatever your first game was it like a commercial? Was it someone's like, hey, like play this, and you were just like, I'll check it out, or what was it, just like a random find?
Well, for me, the exact thing that kept you away from the Soulsborne games was what drew me into it was
Okay.
the aesthetic. And I've always liked fantasy. Um, and when there's a dark twist to it, that's always very cool. I've always been into the sort of gothic aesthetics, I
Mm.
guess you could say. Um, Then what drew me, though, specifically was it was one of the favorite games of my fiance,
Mm.
and um, along with recommending to me Dark Souls, he recommended reading the manga Berserk.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
real
it's such
dark.
a yeah. So it's because as a lot of fans of the series of Dark Souls and Soulsborne generally know, Berserk has a huge influence
Hmm.
on the series. So I would say what led me to Dark Souls was reading Berserk.
Okay.
And go ahead.
No, I was just saying, correct me if I'm wrong. Like Guts' sword is in one. I think
Yeah.
I've seen it in Dark Souls 3. I don't know if it's in all of them. Um,
Uh, I think a more specific version of it is in Dark Souls 3. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So that actually brings me to the thing. So we talked a little bit before this. You have not quite played all of them though, but you have played. Mentioned Dark Souls 1, Sekiro, and Bloodborne, right? Have
Yeah.
you like beaten them all the way through, or is it like
Yes.
okay, like
Yes.
you're a trooper? I can't even ding you for not doing 2 and 3 because it's just getting through. The other two. Would you say that? So I know a lot of people obviously like clamoring for like a Bloodborne 2.
Mm.
Um, are you in that, like, and I know a lot of people talk about like the movement of the games is a big thing. It's a lot about that, knowing when to dodge and everything, and people have noted that I think Bloodborne does a significantly better job of it. Do you
Hmm.
notice that, or
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the Dark Soul series, Bloodborne, and Sekiro are all three of them are unique in their combat system. There are some similarities, but they all work systematically. There's a flow to each of them. It's just the flow that's different. Like
okay?
when you do pick up Bloodborne after playing Dark Souls, it's a lot faster.
Hmm.
And because of that, you do have to be very careful with your timings. Like an enemy raises their head to the right, you gotta dodge left
Gotcha.
so fast. And that was a big adjustment for me. And I'll say this because um, before playing the Souls games, I came from playing much more slower paced games like JRPGs
Yeah. Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Which there's nothing wrong with. There's nothing wrong with liking JRPGs. Don't let anyone
Yeah.
tell you different.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Bloodborne combat is great once you get the pace and the flow and you can sort of dance with it, you
Okay.
know. Um, as for the Bloodborne 2 question, mm, that would have me getting into story
Okay.
and
I guess we can. Maybe we'll hold off.
yeah, I think we should hold off
On
on
that
that
one.
for a little bit
For a
later.
little bit. Like I was okay with doing Metal Gear Spurs just because Metal Gear was so old.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, like Dark Souls is getting up there in its age now too. But so out of the ones that you've played, which has been your favorite?
Well, I would say Bloodborne is my number one. But after playing Sekiro, which is the most recent of the three that I've played, and I'm on my new Game Plus playthrough now, so
Mm,
um, that continues to impress me so much that it might even be tied with Bloodborne.
okay.
I'm not sure.
Why would you say that? It's that is it the combat? Is it story?
Um, so first, Bloodborne's my favorite because of the aesthetic, the story, the mystery. Um, it's just a well put together game with a very coherent set of aesthetics and themes, like the
Okay.
dark Lovecraftian horrors. Um, however, there's one thing people have complaints with when it comes to Bloodborne, and it's usually the Chalice dungeons, which are these sort of side dungeons you can
Uh,
do that aren't related to the story. You don't need to do them for progression. You do them to upgrade your weapons and that sort of thing, and as an added challenge.
gotcha.
Um, but a lot of people find them tedious, and um, that sort of gets in the way of how tightly put together Bloodborne is as a game. Sekiro, in from what I can see, is so well crafted and put together that every piece fits. Like there's nothing extraneous,
Mm,
nothing tedious. Everything flows perfectly. It's to me the best From Software game that
bold,
they've produced.
bold.
Bloodborne is still my top favorite though,
I mean, and
purely on an aesthetic and
yeah, no, and that's
storytelling.
fair. Is there's a lot of times where just because something's like arguably the best of its thing doesn't mean it's your favorite, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, let's see. Excuse me. So, kind of just lost my train of thought here for a second. That's great. Uh, talking about the talking about the story though. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's a lot of environmental storytelling with like, let's say like Dark Souls specifically, where
Mhm.
there's not too much in the way of like cutscenes. Like, am I wrong or is that fairly
No,
accurate?
you're right. You're
Okay,
right.
so I guess my question is, this is gonna be a little more abstract, but why do you think that works better? Because okay, so like I'm a fan of Destiny, right?
Mhm.
And Destiny 2. And I remember a big complaint with Destiny 1 was like the Grimoire cards, where it gave you all these story bits as like an added um thing. Like there weren't too many cutscenes. Um and you got most of your story from like downloading the app and reading the Grimoire cards or war things for weapons. And people were like, oh, the game has no story. And then
Mm.
similarly, I guess my thing is just like some people get bent out of shape on that for one reason, but I don't know why it works, people have seen like praise Dark Souls for it. Some people I think may have also have their complaints, but I feel like they're like, oh no, it's really good environmental storytelling. But I guess kind of if you want to weigh in on why you think that works for them.
I think it in telling the story indirectly, it involves the player more in piecing together what they think is going on here.
Hmm.
Because another thing about From Software games is they may tell a story indirectly with item descriptions and the environment, but they never piece it completely together. And so that has the player wondering oftentimes what the heck is going on. I need to collect more items to read more item descriptions to put this together. Um, so I think it's engaging in that way,
Okay.
that the player is kind of playing as a detective as well, putting together just how these things in the story came to be and
But you
what
don't
their
find it
role
like
is in it.
distracting at all from any of the other stuff? Because like obviously like a big like triumph moment of Dark Souls is like beating a boss or something. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
find the detective work at all like let's say like grindy for lack of a better word.
No, no, I it sort of happens just naturally. I don't deliberately go out. I mean, I will deliberately go out of my way to get items, but I'm not grinding for them. I just, pick things up as I progress through the game, and then those storytelling bits enter in naturally.
Okay.
There's no need really to focus too hard on it if you really
Uh,
just want to play the game.
that's fair. That's fair. So speaking of like kind of grinding, is there so like a big thing with the whole Soulsborne franchise is like doing the getting to that next bonfire, right?
Mm,
Um, and so like some people have really felt enthusiastic about that system because it's you know it's a fight for survival to that next area, right?
yeah.
But um, at a certain point, like I guess like for me, I think another thing that would I guess maybe you could offer some suggestion here aside from get good, um, is like a big thing for me is like I hate tedium. Like I don't if
Mm,
like I don't like for instance like I play my girlfriend and I play Hollow Knight, right?
mm,
And I have no problem with the difficulty of Hollow Knight. It just sucks that like if you die to a boss, you gotta travel through 5 different rooms to go back to that boss and try it again. And
mm.
so it's like same thing with like Dark Souls, where it's like if you die and you're at a bonfire, and then it's like you got to walk like half a mile to get back to that boss fight that you just want to try again. Um, like I guess maybe just like thoughts and opinions on that.
Um, well, it is true. In Dark Souls, there's can be quite a trek between your last bonfire and the boss that you just died to for the 10th time
Hmm.
or something. Um, my thoughts on that, it can get really annoying, but at the same time, uh, I'm just focused on beating the boss, and
Yeah.
I don't really mind. Most of the time, actually, they say you can't run away from enemies in Dark Souls. They'll just
Hmm.
follow you across the map. That's true, unless you enter a boss room. So feel
Okay.
free to run past them to the
Then
boss room.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just hate the idea of like because like the other thing too is that like I play a lot of like platformers, right? And like
Mm,
one of the games notoriously hard for this is like Mega Man Zero. And I'm
okay.
so happy with, for instance, like they put like little save states in
Mm,
the Legacy collection that got released because I'm like I don't want to have to do the whole stage again just to face the boss. Like I've proven I can do the stage. Hell, I've proven I can do the
mm,
stage like 5 times. It's
mm.
that it's around like the 10th time that I'm like if I start dying in the middle of the stage, I'm like the challenge isn't beating the stage anymore because I've proven I can do that. The challenge is now beating the boss. So I guess like
Yeah.
I just get real mad at like the tedium of that. So I think
Right.
that's one of my other kind of like do I want to
Right.
play?
Right. I mean, a big thing too about Dark Souls and exploration is that there's always shortcuts
Hmm.
hiding around, and it's important to find those too.
um, speaking of shortcuts in the world, uh, So going actually, I shouldn't say speaking of this. Going back to more like the stylistic of it. So a lot of games have come out that are kind of mirroring the style. Have you played
Oh
any of the other
yeah.
ones?
Um, I haven't played any of the other ones, but I've picked up some games like Salt and Sanctuary, which I know is Dark Souls inspired. Um, I can't think of any of the other ones,
Mm,
but I know that it's been a huge influence,
mm.
such that it's its own genre now. This
Yeah.
Souls like
This yeah. So it's
games.
like, do you think that's good or bad? Do you think it's getting like too saturated, or do you think?
I think it's great,
Mm,
honestly, because I mean, I think it's natural as someone who plays Dark Souls and other FromSoft games that you kind of get addicted to the challenge of it,
okay.
and to see other games try to emulate that challenge in addition to this aesthetic that I personally really really like. uh, I think that's cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I think that's good just because for someone like who does, like I said, doesn't really like the dark aspect of it. Um, I think that helps add more openings for because like one of the things that bums me out is that like I really like the customization ideas in specifically the Dark Souls games. I just kind of wish Sekiro had more of it. Sekiro's
Mm,
kind of a bit more on like skill trees, I think.
mm.
Um, but like I really like the oh you can make your person like this class. I mean, I think magic still doesn't quite work well in those games, but I either way I still like that it's like oh you can put
Magic works too well.
oh okay, okay I'm sorry.
So, so it's recommended you don't play Magic unless you really want to piss people off in PvP.
Okay, okay,
Otherwise, it makes the game too easy.
really
It
it's
does.
that broken.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that. I may have been confused with something else then. I'm sorry. Um,
That's all right.
but yeah, like the thing is like I like the customization. It's just like it's hard for me to be I guess in that world. So I think I like the idea of
Mm,
let's like if other games are the only thing that I think kind of bums me out is that while other games are kind of mimicking the formula for combat of Dark Souls, they're not mimicking the customization parts. They're like, okay,
mm,
like the latest God of War, for instance, has kind of very like Souls like combat. Um, ex- and no one get mad at me. I know they're still very different games, so I'm just throwing it out there that it's got more in common with Soulsborne games than it does previous God of War games. But the difference is though, it's level progression is still on like a skill tree thing. You can't really like dip points into a thing just to make yourself, just hit harder. It's very
mm,
different. So I think by having other games in that genre helps to kind of open the doors for people like me that want to um, play play it in a way.
mm.
So, do you have an intent to get the other two though? The ones you haven't played?
Yeah, yeah. I had started Dark Souls 2, which is notorious for being the worst in the series, kind of because they had a different team within From Software working on it,
Okay.
um, while another team was busy on Bloodborne. Uh, and Dark Souls 2, in my experience, is a little bit clunky
Mm.
in control and combat. But yeah, I do plan on getting back to that, and I especially want to play Dark Souls 3.
Because like I've heard three is actually a little bit easier than one from what I've heard
Mm.
because like I think they try to incorporate some of the movement from Bloodborne from what I've heard. But it's like not quite there. Um, Speaking of movement though, and maybe this is just me. So I have actually played approximately like 10 minutes of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I'm like in the room and it just feels I don't know. Would you say it feels better the more you play it, or is it kind of just if if you don't like it, you're not gonna like it.
It feels better the more you play it. Um, like, for example, when you get parry timing down,
Hmm.
it feels so good to parry everything, and it makes combat a breeze. And it's really, like I had said, just feeling the flow of the gameplay.
Okay.
And it's something that you just, I guess you have to get used to. And once you get used to it, I guess then you can decide whether
Okay.
you like it or not. It's what's interesting about From Software is they're always experimenting
Hmm.
when it comes to um, the different series they put out. Like between Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you have a big difference in combat. Between Dark Souls and Sekiro, you have an even bigger difference in combat. So much so that your habits coming from playing Dark Souls work against you in Sekiro.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I found that like with Sekiro, it's a bit more like when I think where like Dark Souls, you're kind of more on the defensive, trying to look
mm-hmm.
for your dodge rolling, trying to find openings. I
Yeah,
think from what I've seen in Sekiro, it's a lot more like um offense focused. You're trying to
yeah,
break that posture meter and
yeah, yeah.
like try to go in there, but like cautiously go in there. It's not like a Devil May Cry game or anything like that, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
Like like Bloodborne, you go in there and you kind of have to throw caution to the wind.
mhm.
Um, Sekiro, you do want to be cautious, but not so much as Dark Souls. But you do want, I would say, Sekiro requires even faster reaction times than Bloodborne, and
Okay.
that was a big barrier for me. Like I don't know if it's just my brain just
Uh.
it works too slowly,
Or like it's like yeah, your brain
but
signals to your body, and you're just like my hands won't do the thing. I know what I'm
yeah,
supposed to. My
yeah,
hands just
yeah,
won't do the thing.
yeah. But what it's another thing again is once you get used to it,
Hmm.
it just feels so good. When you get the deflect timings down in Sekiro, when you know exactly when to jump over an attack, when you have that the boss's patterns down, it's amazing.
It's like a dance. You kind of feel
Exactly.
the.
Exactly.
So I guess looking forward, then what would you want to see for the? I don't want to say franchise because since it's broken up into like three separate game series now. I guess what would you want to see for maybe like from software, like would you want to see a Sekiro 2 or a Bloodborne 2, or would you want them to make brand new another title to their belt, or
Mm.
hell even Dark Souls 4?
Well, um, they do have Elden Ring planned.
Oh, is that them? That is them, yeah.
Yeah, where they're working with George R. R. Martin.
True.
Yeah, they have that, and I heard that that's going to be very customizable
Okay.
open world RPG. I could
Okay.
be wrong. I might be basing this on older news and speculation that I've heard.
Okay.
Um, when it comes to From Software, because they're always experimenting and changing, I don't know what to expect and I don't exactly know what to demand. Uh, but I imagine it'll end up being um, aesthetically beautiful. Um, I imagine that with there's one thing I wanted to mention too is that From Software seems to carry a theme throughout Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, and um, in that, what is the price of immortality,
Okay. Interesting.
and what does it mean to be mortal? You have that through Dark Souls, in Bloodborne, in Sekiro. And I imagine that with Elden Ring, they'll probably incorporate something uh, along the lines of the human condition, I guess,
Okay.
because they do a very good job with that, and making it gameplay relevant too. Like um like when I say like what is the price of immortality?
Hmm.
That gives meaning to a mechanic in games we usually take for granted, which is having lives. You
Yeah, yeah.
resurrect and like, oh, Mario has lives, I guess, and
Yeah.
you can just come back to life, whatever.
Multiple.
In From Software games, there are explanations, lore explanations why that happens.
Okay.
Like in Dark Souls, you have the dark sign. Um, in Bloodborne, you're a hunter tied to this thing called the Hunter's Dream, and every time you die, you return there only to begin again to complete your duties
Okay.
as a hunter. In Sekiro, it's a very important plot device, the resurrection thing, because the story is pretty much everyone fighting over this power to this immortality, and the reason you can resurrect is because of this blood of the divine heir who you're trying to protect, because everyone is trying to steal his power of
Hmm.
immortality. Um, so I'm interested in seeing like what they'll do, uh, how they'll make game mechanics play into whatever the story they're trying to tell with Elden Ring,
Hmm.
especially since it looks to be Norse inspired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw
So,
like one story trailer for it, so
yeah.
um I just want them like I don't know if you know this, but like they made the Armored Core series, and I just want the
Yeah, yeah,
Armored Core
yeah. You
six.
just
Like
want Armor Core?
I just want Armored Core back. That's really the whole point of this. Even this whole episode was just me to do a do a plug for wanting Armored Core 6. And I
Okay.
know Damon X Machina came out on the Switch, which I still plan to get, even though the company that made it's being kind of jerks about footage and stuff. But
Mm.
um, yeah, would you think that like from Soft would go back to do like maybe fusing the two, have a have a mech Dark Souls,
That would be really cool, actually. Like that makes me think of like Gundam Wing Endless Waltz.
right? Like that's what
Like
I'm saying. Just maybe let FromSoft do a Gundam game,
that would be
and
pretty cool.
right, and just have it still kind of have some of the same combat mechanics. It's really, you know what, I didn't know I needed it until this very moment. Um, and that's now my lifelong dream. I thought it was me wanting Mega Man Legends 3, but now it's me wanting a Gundam Dark Souls game.
That would be I think that would be a perfect combination that no one's hit upon yet.
Mm. But
So,
in all seriousness, though, would you think they would ever go, because you said they kind of keep reinventing it here, like or and improving themselves? Do you think they'd ever do some sort of because all the ones have been either like medieval, Victorian, feudal-ish Japan. Do you
mhm.
think they'd have some sort of modern, like not quite maybe like guns, but just something closer to modern day?
Maybe. I mean, it makes me think of how CD Projekt Red went from The Witcher to Cyberpunk.
That's fair.
And I think like with FromSoft being as experimental as they are, who knows? I really can't you can't predict what Miyazaki's going to do next. You
He's a
really can't.
madman.
He is. I
um,
think that would be a really cool idea,
that
though.
would. Yeah, I might actually play it then.
I mean,
um, actually, there is like because I've been really wanting to play Jedi Fallen Order, and I think that's another real close one.
oh,
Yeah, because I mean it's
yeah.
Star Wars Dark Souls.
Yeah, I saw some gameplay of that, and it really did make me think of Dark
Yeah,
Souls.
I think it's actually
But
like closer to
everything's Dark
yeah,
Souls.
everything's Dark Souls. I think it's actually closer to Sekiro with I think like the parrying, but
Hmm.
um, I forgot to ask though, because I kind of I think this was a bit more prominent with when when we talked about Metal Gear, but what would you say is kind of more your like maybe the thing that keeps you coming back for the from is it the gameplay? Do you think that's like, or are you just really interested in the story and worlds? That's in these games? Is that like whatever which one kind of keeps you coming back?
All of it, really.
All of it? Like it's straight
Uh
up 50-50, just
like the gameplay is great, and what drives me to finish the games is this sort of competitiveness with
okay.
myself and with my fiance, who does crazy challenge runs, like no hit runs, and
Oh man, he's one of
like
those people.
does, yeah, he does that. So I'm like, gotta be as good as him. So it's the challenge, yeah.
okay.
But from an artistic perspective, it's the character that From Software puts into their games, the character they put into the environments and into the characters, bosses, um, the how they seem to make everything so grandiose and beyond comprehension almost.
It's high
Like,
praise.
I mean, hey.
I mean, it is your favorite, so I mean, I don't know, I can't expect anything less than that. Um,
Yeah.
so that's about all. I don't know about you. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you got going on? You want to?
Uh, Well, I am an artist, and you can check out my work on Instagram. My username there is CLLAVELLE, C Lavelle, Chelsea Lavelle.
I'll put it in the description for
So,
this too. So
yeah, awesome. So, yeah, and I'm working on moving my art into a more dark fantasy direction, working on it. So, if you want to see that develop, check it out.
you put me in a tough spot because it's like part of me is like I want to support my friend, but I'm just too scared of what you're gonna draw. I'm kidding. I'd support you no matter what.
Oh, thank you.
But hey, I hope you're staying safe, and thank you for so much for doing
You
this.
too.
Anyone that watches
Absolutely.
this, make sure to like, subscribe, and like I said, check the description for my friend Chelsea here's art and all the links and stuff, so you can support her. And you got your commissions are open, right?
They are opening now.
Now they're opening now. Thanks again, and like I said, like, subscribe, and see you guys next
All
time.
right. Thank you.